Today, my guest is Lael Sturm. Lael is the founder of LPSS Digital Marketing, where they deliver effective growth strategies and tactics to real estate professionals and other profitable businesses. And today we're going to speak with Lael about that, how to better market your business to those you're trying to market to. And before we do, though, I want to remind you, if you like the show, we would love to hear from you. You can like, share, and subscribe. And you can also leave a comment, as we would love to hear from you. Also want to remind you, if you'd like to see how handsome our guests are, be sure to check out our YouTube channel, and that's Commercial Real Estate Pro Network. And with that, I want to welcome my guest, Lael. Welcome to CREPN Radio.
Thanks, Darren. Thanks for having me.
Well, I'm delighted to have you, and looking forward to talking with you today. But before we get started, if you could just take a minute and share with the listeners a little bit about your background and how you got into digital marketing.
Sure. My career started right around the same time the whole internet started. The timing was such that I got out of school and went into the entertainment industry, and then all of a sudden there was this thing called the web. And a coworker of mine had an idea for a website and basically taught everybody he knew how to help him build this thing over pizza and beer. And we all got sort of an education on the ground floor, and he very quickly turned this thing into a profitable exit. So that was sort of the spark in the mid-90s, the genesis of the whole thing. And I was able to take learned and leverage that into a startup in San Francisco, and working on successful startups, and my career sort of took off from there. Went into the entertainment industry, helped a bunch of record labels and MTV with their digital marketing strategy, and ended up at business school at Columbia, where at the time I was one of the very few internet experienced people in the program, and so was giving out advice sort of for free and casually over coffee and cocktails. And some of those companies wound up raising money and becoming actual businesses, and turned to me for professional advice. So all of a sudden I was a professional consultant in internet growth strategies, and finished business school and sort of kept on going, jumped into a couple of startups and consulted and advised along the way, and eventually grew out my agency, where we support businesses of all types, not just internet businesses, because the internet has really become sort of the underlying technology for all business. So we saw an opportunity to help support Main Street businesses in addition to Silicon Valley businesses, and the business has grown from there.
You know, it's funny, your mention of the kind of the beginnings there. I'm reminded of, as an insurance broker, I had a client they were doing some web, based business. And I can remember the first time I heard it, and I was like, "You're doing what?" And I remember walking into this kind of like a big warehouse building. There was like 2 desks and some floor lamps and cords all over the floor and 2 computers, and these like kids, I mean, they were right out of college. And I was going, good luck with that. Boy, was I wrong, right?
Yeah.
So, but no, that's awesome. I appreciate you sharing your background there. So let's talk a little bit about, the web and how it's changed things. I mean, I got a degree in marketing a long time ago. And at the time, I always thought sales and marketing were directly linked. And in fact, many times the sentence or the department was the sales and marketing department. But I feel like marketing has changed dramatically with the web. Do you have any kind of a perspective with that?
Yeah, I agree completely. Sales and marketing have always been tied, though. I don't know what your educational experience was, but when I was in school, undergrad and graduate school, there wasn't a sales program. It was, marketing was a theoretical class. There was some practical application. With the rise of the internet and social media and email marketing and all of these tools, what's happened is it's democratized the space. So everybody has access to everything that everyone else does. So sure, it's great if you're Coca-Cola and you've got a massive marketing budget, but it's not the advantage that it once was. You no longer have to buy a Super Bowl ad in order to be competitive. You can launch a campaign on Instagram or Facebook or LinkedIn even, and see it go viral and get the reach to expand your audience without having to dedicate millions of dollars to production or buying ad time. That's one aspect to it. Email is another thing. It's ubiquitous. Everybody has it. If you've got a good email marketing game in terms of sending regular newsletters and creating value through email, you can reach huge audiences at relatively low costs. It does require some time and expertise. I don't mean to say that you can accidentally be successful, though some are. It really takes a focused effort, but the playing field has become far more level than it ever was.
Sure. So how should we frame this conversation? I'm trying to think specific to real estate oriented businesses. The majority of the listeners are either investors or professionals, or real estate professionals. And I'm just wondering if you could kind of set the stage or the expectations as to what the goal of being active on social media should be.
Yeah, so there's a couple different ways we could go with this. If you're a real estate professional and you are consumer facing, that's not necessarily that you're limited to selling residential real estate. But if you sell real estate to people, or you manage properties where you're trying to market vacancies to put people into your units, or if you're trying to even syndicate a deal where you're trying to get in front of a broader base of potential investors, internet marketing should be a critical piece of your equation. It's something that that you really can't ignore. The other side of it, the other aspect is, if you're not consumer facing, if you're somebody who's kind of an operator, you're somebody who's in the background, who's not necessarily actively marketing something, whether it's a sale or a rental or an investment, digital marketing channels are critical for demonstrating thought leadership. So chances are people are referencing you either before meeting you or after meeting you to decide how they'd like to proceed, if they'd like to do business with you, if they'd like to hire you even. And if you can demonstrate some expertise using digital channels, putting content out there that illustrates what it is you're a professional at, and where you can add value to an organization or to a business, that's a channel that's available to you and something that you should absolutely actively develop.
So how would you recommend, maybe we could take both the business and the consumer version, as far as is what I guess what I'm trying to get as a strategy. Is it about having a website? Is it about sending out emails? Is it about being active on Facebook and LinkedIn? And can you kind of drill down on that a little bit? Or is it, or should it really back up a couple steps and just kind of assess what is your goal, what are the platforms, and then develop a strategy so that you can be effective on all those that you deem necessary or important?
So the answer is yes, all of the above. So generally speaking, you should always have a strategy in terms of achieving your goals. It's like taking a road trip. It helps if you know where you're going. So it's nice to set goals. It's good to have really clear success metrics, so you can see how it is you're doing. You can change course if necessary, to continue with the driving metaphor. In terms of in terms of the kind of the consumer facing stuff where you're trying to market a property or a vacancy, yes, you should have a website. You should have a social media presence. You should have an email newsletter. You should develop these channels. You may even want to take out ads on platforms like Facebook and Google, but it's a lot to bite off. So it's important to think about what your goals are, who your target audience is, where that audience is, and how effectively to reach them, and to set up a stepped process where you're doing one thing and you're doing it effectively, and then you're adding another piece to the puzzle. So for example, most businesses at this point have a website. There are tools that you can use to see if your website is ranking for your search terms. So for example, vacant apartments in Cleveland, Ohio. If you've got a building in Cleveland, Ohio, a search on Google should turn up your website. If it doesn't, there are changes that you need to make to your website. So fundamentally, that's where you want to start, is having an effective website that can draw traffic in, that can serve as a magnet to your business. Google traffic is not free, but it's as close to free as you can possibly get. So if you can improve your search game, you can increase your search traffic, you can increase your business footprint. So that's where you start. If that's buttoned up and dialed in, then you turn your attention to social media. Do you have a business page on LinkedIn or just a personal page? For example, if I were to click on your business name under your personal page on LinkedIn, would I get to a page that describes what business you're in, how to reach you, how long you've been in business, what your areas of expertise are? Or would I just get to a list of other people who work for that same company? So that's a problem that's easily solved. Same goes on Facebook. You should have a Facebook business page. These things are easy to set up. There is some science to them. There's a right way to do it and a wrong way to do it, but the on-screen prompts will walk you through, and if you can be patient and thoughtful and maybe even consider what your competition is doing, you can effectively do this yourself. You do not need to hire an agency like mine to do it for you, though you certainly could. So that's where I would start. From there, you maybe consider ads, you consider posting to social media. You should definitely be sending an email newsletter at least once a month, if not more often. We send our newsletter weekly. And a word about newsletters: if you're using newsletters, you should not just be marketing something. You should actually try to add value to the conversation. So what can you share with your community that they're going to be interested in, that they're going to be inspired by, and hopefully reach out to you to do business with you? But ideally, you want to be top of mind, so you want to put something at the top of their inbox, and they're going to think, oh yeah, this company or this person, this is somebody who I should call or refer to or consider in my next deal.
No, that's well said there. I think the just the notion of digital marketing and all the different platforms, and it seems like there's constantly a new platform being developed, or this is the new important one. It's just it can be overwhelming. How is there a test, or is it basically for business? The ones you've mentioned, LinkedIn and Facebook, are those kind of the steady eddies, or are there other ones that one should be concerned with, or is it more of start with the website and then, like you said, step into these others, but LinkedIn and Facebook being kind of primary, and then go from there?
So broadly speaking, professionally, yes, you want to be on LinkedIn and Facebook. Now, I'm going to throw you two curveballs here. Curveball one is Instagram. Instagram is absolutely the most influential platform of the moment. So if you've got a visually appealing product, for example, your buildings have curb appeal, you should be posting images to Instagram on a regular basis. Now, Instagram has some limitations, but it's fairly easy to use. You can, with the click of a button, switch your account from a personal account to a business account, which gives you access to analytics and advertising tools and insights to let you know how you're doing. So while you must be on LinkedIn and Facebook, if you can, you should also be productive on Instagram. And by productive, I mean posting 4 to 7 times a week, which seems like a lot, but you just carve out 10 minutes in the beginning of the day and post something. in order to maintain some activity. Now, the other curveball is this. We advise our residential real estate clients to not build websites for every single property listing. That's sort of the order of the day for the last 20 years is you go out and buy a website, 123mainstreet.com, and then you put pictures of that property up and you try to drive traffic to that website and get people excited. Facebook allows for almost all of the same functionality. So you can have a Facebook page for that property, not have a website for that property, not have to invest in acquiring a domain name, in hiring a web developer, the time consumption that's necessary, the investment in time to actually build out that website. All of that functionality can exist on your Facebook page. You can add video, you can add images, you can add descriptions, people can share it easily, and Facebook has a baked-in audience. So you're not then trying to market a second property in terms of this website where you're trying to sell a house and you're trying to drive traffic to a website. You're using Facebook's built-in marketing functionality to promote the property and drive qualified buyers to that property instead of marketing a website.
A couple of questions. You mentioned frequency on the Instagram of posting 4 to 7 times a week. Is there a similar or a rule for the other places, whether it be your, and you also mentioned emailing at a minimum once a month, but for your website or Facebook or LinkedIn, is there a rule of thumb?
Yeah, generally speaking on social, you want to try to be active every weekday if you can. So you can, if you're investing the time in creating a post for Instagram, you can repurpose that post to other channels. I advise to not just post it wholesale as is to other channels because you sacrifice functionality. But if you can post 5 days a week to your social channels, you're doing a great job of staying active. You're demonstrating that you're engaged, that you've got value to provide, that your content is fresh, that you're current. So that's generally a good rule of thumb, Monday through Friday. So 5 times a week, the occasional weekend post if there's something happening, if it's a seasonal post or around a holiday or a particular kind of event that you're doing, an open house, that sort of thing. In terms of the website, you should have an up-to-date website. Ideally, you've got room on your website for fresh content. So what I mean by that is the occasional blog post, or if you can add a plugin to your site that automatically pulls in your social media posts so that your website is constantly refreshed. There's a source of new information there. Google considers that very, very valuable. So they're going to rank a site that has fresh new content over a site that was built 5 years ago and has not changed much since then.
Got it. So the kind of the strategy you've laid out, I mean, as far as the platforms and the frequency for posting, what should one, as far as, I guess, what should their mindset be as far as expectations, results of this? I know a lot of people have jumped in and thought that, well, I didn't get anything out of it. It didn't work. Is there a time frame, or is there should it be instant if you're doing it right, or?
Great question. So it gets back to setting goals and really defining what success looks like. We have clients that are looking to grow their following. They're looking at a following number. So they're looking at likes on Facebook. They're looking at followers on Instagram and Twitter. And that's fine. That doesn't move the needle for some of my other clients. Many of my clients are looking at revenue. How much revenue is this generating? Or how much investment is this generating? Or how many leads are getting into my pipeline? How many people's emails and phone numbers are we adding to our database on a regular basis? So everybody's got their own metric for success. Each of these channels performs at a different rate. It takes time to grow a following on social media. So you're not going to set up an Instagram account right now and expect it to lead to new business in the coming weeks or months. It could take you a year before you've got a following that's big enough to actually move the needle in terms of connecting with somebody who wants to do business with you. So that's a fairly long time horizon. If you're looking for immediate results, for example, you're selling insurance, or you're a mortgage broker, or you're a retail realtor, ads are a great way to get immediate results. So within days or certainly a week, you can build out an effective ad campaign and expect to get in front of people who are actually shopping for the things that you're selling right now. And done well, that ad campaign should start to bear fruit right away. Now, as you know, it takes a number of impressions before you actually sink in with the end consumer. How many times do you see the same ad on television? The reason for that is that it takes 5, 7, 10 times before you think, oh, that's exactly the thing I'm looking for. I'm going to pick up the phone and call this person, or I'm going to click on the link or visit the website. So with ads, it can take a little bit of time to get going, but if you've got an ad campaign that's been running for a month, 6 weeks, you should have real data of how well it's performing, and you should be able to see a number of data points that demonstrate whether you're reaching the target audience, whether your message is clear, whether it's leading to sales, whether it's putting people into your pipeline or your funnel, as the case may be. So ads are really the quickest path to results. Social and the web tend to be somewhat slower.
Got it. I'm curious if you have experience with somebody that's attempted this on their own and have come to you and they've essentially created a mess. Does that ever happen?
That happens fairly often,
Okay.
more often than I think we would like. The sort of the good news and the bad news about all of these tools is it's not hard to do it yourself. I mean, you can jump in with both feet right now and build out a Google ad campaign, a Facebook ad campaign. You can set up your social accounts. You can build your pages on these platforms. You could even do your own website using a tool like Wix or Squarespace or even WordPress to some extent. Doing it is not the hard part. The hard part is doing it well and having an eye on what it is you're trying to achieve. So we see clients all the time who come in and have done something themselves, or they've got a niece who just graduated college who's been running their accounts and posting all sorts of crazy things. Generally, we can back out of most messes. There are some exceptions, and the exception that comes to mind immediately is if you've bought followers. If you clicked on one of those links that said 10,000 followers for $49 on Instagram or Twitter, those followers are garbage. So we can see right away by looking at your engagement numbers what the quality of your followers are, and it becomes very, very obvious if you've purchased followers, if you have bots following you, or if you've got a bunch of people in a warehouse somewhere that are paid to click follow on various accounts. There's no quick and easy way to undo that. So you're going to have kind of a messy following going forward. All we can do is take you down a more ethical path to growing your following. And look, ultimately, you want to have real live followers who are likely to want to do business with you. So having a big number is a vanity metric, and you should immediately set that aside and say, you know what, I don't care that I don't have the most followers on these platforms. What I'm looking for is high quality followers who are going to engage with my content and be inclined to do business with me, because ultimately, that's what we're doing here. So we can help you untangle almost every mess, but we can't get rid of those fake followers who are going to mess up your engagement numbers and ultimately your conversion rates.
Got it. That makes a lot of sense. Are there any tips that you can provide to the audience as far as how one should consider differentiating themselves?
Yeah, so generally speaking, what we advise is be authentic. Be who you are. Don't try to be someone else. Don't try to put on airs. Don't don't take pictures in front of a private jet on the tarmac unless you actually fly in a private jet and that's your runway. So those kinds of fake gestures, gestures where you're trying to put forward a persona that's not 100% authentic, those tend to not work so well. We advise people to be honest, be themselves. You're an expert at what you do, whether it's real estate investment, whether it's property management, whether it's retail sales, whatever it is, you've got some area of expertise. And in this world of mass communication, where everybody can put everything out to the world, there is somebody that's interested in what it is you have to say. So you might think to yourself, well, my product isn't sexy, or what I'm doing isn't all that interesting. I just get up and I do it every day. No, the truth is you've actually built up a perspective. You've learned something, and sharing what you've learned through social channels, through email, through your website, through blogging, allows you to build an audience and demonstrate that you've got value, especially in an industry like real estate or like law or like insurance, where to the end consumer, you're a commodity. One lawyer, one insurance broker, one mortgage guy is the same as the next. So if you can demonstrate some value versus the guy down the hall or the guy down the street, you are more likely to win business from the people that are going to resonate with the things that you're an expert in.
No, I love it. That's well said, and I think it's encouraging too. You've been doing what you've been doing, but I think marketing is something that is not always well understood, and just recognizing the value you have, and then conveying that to your potential audience is kind of that bridge kind of thing. I think a lot of us struggle with. That's good. Lael, I want to shift gears if we could just for a minute. As I shared with you before we started recording, by day, I'm an insurance broker, and in insurance, we practice risk management. And there's essentially three strategies we engage. One is avoid the risk. Two is minimize the risk. And then the third is transfer the risk. And that's essentially what an insurance policy is. And I've been asking my guests as of late, and would like to ask you if you could identify what you see as the biggest risk that real estate investors or professionals face. And I just want to reemphasize that I'm not necessarily looking for an insurance-related answer, but just more in a general global sense of what you see as the biggest risk.
Yeah, it's a good question. So what we encounter with our clients, and not just those in real estate, but those in a number of industries, and especially regulated industries, like finance, like financial instruments, like insurance, like law, is a fear to take action. So we see the biggest risk as not using the available tools because you're afraid that you either don't have the technical expertise, or you're going to run afoul of the regulatory limitations that are facing your industry. So we advise clients, one, to educate themselves on what the rules are so that they don't cross those lines. Two, educate themselves on what tools are available in terms of how they can get the word out effectively to their target audience. And three, to start small. So don't try to bite off everything all at the same time, but take some action. So don't hope that the internet and social media are going to go away. They're not going away. They're certainly going to change, but you need to be active in this environment in order to distinguish yourself and demonstrate that you've got value to provide to your market. And inaction is a risk that you really cannot afford to take.
No, that's a great advice there. And I'm certain there are many in the audience that have, had that sense of overwhelmed, just like, there's a lot to do there. So that's great. Lael, where can the listeners go if they would like to learn more or connect with you?
Sure. So our website is lpss.co, and I'm going to set up a landing page for your listeners at lpss.co/CREPN, where they can download a free social media guide to help them get started. I'll also mention that when they get to that page, they'll see a services link at the top in the navigation. If they click that link, they can then see all of the various services that we offer. Everything we do is detailed on our services page. It's a menu of services, and everything includes prices. So we're very, very transparent about how we work with clients. If you need advice, we can provide advice. But many clients will come to us and say, I just don't want to do this. I don't want to have to post to my LinkedIn page every single day. Can you do that for me? Or I don't want to set up and manage a Google Ads campaign, but I need to because I've got to fill this building. We can do that work for you, or we can give you the guidance that you need to do it yourself. We also do webinars and training. So if you just need to freshen up on the various digital marketing strategies that are out there, you can also consume those at our website. So lpss.co.
Got it. And I'll make sure to emphasize the .co, not .com. So when you're looking for this in the show notes, be sure to recognize the link and that it is .co. Lael, I want to say thanks for taking the time today. I've enjoyed it, learned a lot, and hope we can do it again soon.
Thank you so much, Darren. Take care.
All right. For our listeners, if you like this episode, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Remember, the more you know, the more you grow. That's all we've got this week. Until next time, thanks for listening to Commercial Real Estate Pro Network's CREPN Radio.